Hello YouTube. As the title of the video indicates, I might not be natural. And I know that usually fitness YouTubers wait for the moment where they are about to be exposed or get cancelled before making that type of apology segment. But I figured out that there was no point in waiting because you would have figured it out eventually at some point. And so I believe that it is my duty to just walk into it and be open with you guys. I know that I picked the channel name Natural Hypertrophy and that a lot of you guys look up to me because of that, because of the size and the muscle I was able to achieve naturally. And I know that some of you might be extremely disappointed in that moment to hear that. And I understand, I don't blame you at all, I'm the one at fault. Because of course, I'm the one who made you believe that, right? With my behavior, with my speech. Some of you might have even become suspicious, thinking someone who speaks so negatively about steroids must be on something. It's an inversion, he's projecting something. And in a sense, you were right, you were correct, you saw right through me. So this is the moment for me to come clear. I know, again, I'm disappointing a lot of you guys, but I might not be natural. And yet, I've never taken steroids. Now, how do these two statements reconcile? How is it possible? Well, you see, I might not be natural, but it's not my fault. It's through no action of my own. And so this video is not going to be an apology segment. It's not going to be one of those, where the guy lies to you for 5 years and then he says, oh, it was just TRT, guys. I'm fine, bros. No, none of that. Quite the opposite, actually. In this video, I want to relentlessly attack these people because they're the very reason why I might not be natural. I hope I didn't confuse you guys too much, and I hope the opening that was so dramatic didn't bother you. But it's for the grand gesture, because at the end of the day, keep in mind that it's not clickbait. I might not be natural. I title it this way because it is true. And the reason for that is simple. I make videos on YouTube Fitness. And by default, because of my colleagues and because of the history of the platform, the chances of me being natural are extremely, extremely slim. This could even be an advanced scheme on my part. Maybe someone somewhere has information about me taking drugs, and I'm trying to meet them halfway. I'm trying to prevent the truth from coming out by doing that type of, fake apology video, quote unquote. But it doesn't really matter because the message I'm going to be conveying in this video, I've tried to convey ever since I started the channel. It's the reason why natural hypertrophy exists in the first place. It's to spread that message. A message that I'm afraid is on the verge of disappearance on YouTube because of the very state of things I'm going to describe. As a rule of thumb, anything that comes out of my mouth cannot be trusted. And that goes for anyone on YouTube Fitness, and you know it. Maybe you don't like telling yourself that, but regardless of the amount of affection, the amount of trust, quote unquote, that you have in your favorite fitness YouTubers, you cannot trust a single one of them. Why? They have proven times and times again that they're not worthy of that trust and that they will betray it the second they can. This has been the way YouTube Fitness has been going for a few years now, but it was not always like this. The entirety of this fitness community wasn't always so paranoid. It came from somewhere. There used to be a time where you would assume that the person making videos was natural because it was the current state and it was the basic default state of any YouTuber. 10 years later, that has been completely reversed, and now we're dealing with the opposite situation, which makes me a fake natty. Me and any other person who claims natural on this platform is a fake natty by default. So I want you to keep that in mind. Anything that comes out of my mouth could be a lie, and that is true across the board. Now, this is a problem because this platform is based on trust. Why exactly do you take advice from people outside of the simple fact that they might be bigger than you? It's because at some point you decided to put your trust in them. And for a lot of people, that's a very quick process. I know a lot of people find a channel, they watch one video and they say to themselves, okay, that guy is the best thing ever and it's my ride or die. I'm never going to stop watching his videos. Anything he says is correct. Then you have people like me who are more suspicious of the wood in general, who take more time to give their trust. But it doesn't change anything because my trust I still give and betrayed I was still, even though that's not English, I'm talking like Yoda for some reason. I myself trusted fitness YouTubers and I was betrayed times and times again because again and again they would make that very video I'm making right now without the actual content I'm making, where, you know, some guy eventually makes a video and says, oh, yes, I'm actually enhanced, but I take just a tiny bit and I never meant to lie to you, but the wood made it so. I'm oppressed. Society forced me to hide my drug use, etc., etc. They make themselves pass as the victim, even though you're the victim that got lied to. It's the reason why trust is dead on this platform. It's just buried underneath piles and piles and piles of corpses of people who believed in fake natties. And all of that is directly linked with one thing and one thing only. But before I get to it, I'll take a quick pause. So as I was saying, the platform is supposedly built on trust, but no one trusts anyone. And I would even go as far as to say that most people are completely paranoid on YouTube Fitness. And that is because, again, they've spent enough time on the platform to be completely immune to the lies, to the point that their very system now rejects everything, right? It's like if you fell sick so many times that now any foreign agent that enters the body creates an aggressive reaction. And I'm like this too, meaning that I am extremely, suspicious of any person that would make video on YouTube Fitness because I see the track record of their quote-unquote ancestors or predecessors. And so I also understand that most likely that guy is the same. Because if he weren't the same, he wouldn't make it. See, there is a very simple formula to becoming big on YouTube Fitness. And a large portion of that involves drugs. A lot of the guys who blow up, quote unquote, are drug users or indulge in drug at some point or another. And it's extremely tough for naturals to compete with that. So there is an incentive for naturals to also take drugs, which then makes them non-naturals. You see the problem here? All of this entire business that is being conducted, yes, is terrible for the overall trust, it's terrible for you, but it's also terrible for natural lifters across the world. And that is due to one type of people and one type of people only. Fake natties. All of our problems, all of the issues that YouTube Fitness are having to deal with come from these types. Fake natties are completely ruining the platform, and it's not just new. They've been doing that for a long, long time. And yet, nothing has changed. You would think that on a platform that is dedicated to fitness, if something nefarious were to emerge, that thing would be taken care of very quickly, right? These people should already be gone. And yet, they are more present than ever, they have more power than ever, and they are just seemingly completely unstoppable. So what exactly is going on? Well, you see, it's very simple. They muddied the water. They poisoned the well. They applied a scorched earth strategy where they understood that their ability to survive in an environment based on trust was not possible, so they did the only thing they could. They killed trust. They entered our communities pretending to be natural. They amassed a large amount of followers who were in awe at their muscle mass, and then when the followers were sucked in and complete fanboys, they revealed their plot, they revealed their hands, and they said, hey, I'm actually not natural. But the damage was already done because out of the audience, the people that would be disappointed at that statement would leave, but their spirit has been crushed. And these types never trust again. So even if they come across a genuine channel that teaches natural lifting, there is something in them, a tiny voice that will tell them, hey, Remember that guy that we trusted 2 years ago and that made us look like a fool? That guy is the same. Don't trust him. That is terrifying. And on top of that, you also have the rest that just, for some reason, forgave and said, okay, you've been lying to me for years and years. I bought your bullshit supplements and training programs. I got no results from it. But my attachment to you is so deeply ingrained in me. I am so enslaved by Stockholm syndrome that I just cannot leave you anymore. Like a battered spouse that cannot leave her husband. And this is YouTube fitness. Meaning that the rare percent of the population that doesn't fall within those two categories, the free thinkers, quote unquote, are either people who haven't been burnt yet or people who have achieved some level of advanced wisdom. But I can tell you that almost no one is at that level. And this is a big issue because it's something that I am having to deal with as well, because I could be the guy that does it for you. I could be the guy that betrays you one day. And maybe you thought when you saw that video that this was it, right? I know that in the back of your head, you're thinking, this is too good to be true. Because I know that I feel the same way every time I find a good fitness channel. I'm thinking, okay, or like, where is the catch? What are you going to reveal? When are you going to reveal it? I know that at some point this is going to go to shit because every single fitness channel eventually goes to shit. So how long do we have? 2 years, 3 years? Well, I wanted to just, plug the cord as soon as possible. We're talking about it now, okay? On perce l'abcès, as we say in French. We're going to pop the bubble. We're going to pop the disgusting, what is the term? Wart that is filled with pus. Let's talk about the pus. The pus is fake natties. So as I said, they muddied the water and they ruined your innocence as well. And something that bothers me even more, it's not just the lying, it's that they introduced a topic to YouTube fitness that really is not needed, and that is steroids. How many kids, teenagers who barely train have an extensive knowledge of steroid use, of PED use? They've never even taken creatine. They can explain to you exactly how drugs work, how to do the perfect cycle, and what to do. Like they make memes about trend. That is not normal. I would liken this to the hypersexualization of children. It is that severe because that type of knowledge at that young age is toxic because it replaces something else, and that something should be the innocence. When I started training, I didn't even know what steroids were. I thought that whey protein was steroids. I was stupid, yes, but I was pure. And that's what allowed me to last this long. If you become jaded at such a young age, you're going to be fucked. And the problem with fake natties is that they make people jaded because the vast majority of people who watch them either are fooled by their lies or they're not, but they tell themselves, okay, he achieved that with drugs, there's no way I can achieve that. So they sort of live through the guy by watching his videos, but their own self-esteem has been completely destroyed. And at this point, they're not lifters anymore. They're like specters who inhabit YouTube fitness and make no positive impact in their life. And that is because natural bodybuilding, the very pursuit of an aesthetic body for people who don't take drugs, has been destroyed. If you tell me you're a natural bodybuilder, I'm telling you that you are either a fool or a liar, because natural bodybuilding does not exist anymore. I don't know if you've noticed, but when you go to a natural bodybuilding competition, the vast majority of the guys on stage are not natural. And that is something that cannot be reversed also. For the people who think that we're going to get back the golden age of bodybuilding, you're deluded. Unless you can somehow make all drugs disappear from the earth, we're never going to get it back. The good old days will never come back. You know the sentence that we hear nowadays, this is the new normal? Yeah, that's natural bodybuilding. And it's a problem, of course, because it means that since the very platform and discipline is dead, it cannot attract anyone anymore. It is really, really difficult to, one, find your passion as a bodybuilder nowadays with the shitty role models that fake natties are, and two, find the information to get there. Because again, the same people who muddied the water didn't just stop there. If they just killed trust, they could be forgiven, but they did worse than that. They killed trust, but they also killed good information because they replaced it with our bullshit. They replaced it with their practices that works for them because they take drugs, but for no one else. And I say that again, pretending to be natural. And you might tell me and ask me, okay, that title was clickbait because you are clearly positioning yourself as a natural lifter and you didn't talk about your natural status at all. Well, this is because we're now getting into the part that actually pains me and why I made this video, because I can speak as much as I want against drug users. I have absolutely no way to prove to you that I'm not one. And you might be someone who is now emotionally attached to me and you take my word for it, and that's great. But understand that the vast majority of the world doesn't. And for them, I could just be another fake natty, which means that I cannot get through to them because they will not trust me, and rightfully so. And you could ask, for you again, who has a certain degree of affection towards me, why is that? Why can't you prove that you're natural? Surely there must be a way. And the problem is that you are entirely wrong. There is absolutely no way. And I'm going to prove that to you. But first off, let's talk about the fact that no one is natural anymore. I touched upon it a bit when I talked about the innocence that is destroyed. It's more than that, actually. It's not just the innocence. It's the fact that the statement, no one is natural anymore, is a factual statement. I don't know if you watch UFC and MMA, but I think it was one of the Diaz brothers who said that everyone takes steroids or everyone is on steroids. Of course, it's a deeply disturbing statement, and you could easily point that out as just a gross generalization, general statement, and say that this has no ground, it has no weight. And yet, it's deeply interesting on a philosophical level, because he's correct. I don't know if it's all the weed he smokes that opened his third eye of truth and he reached some unknown knowledge of the universe, but he's correct. Everyone takes steroids. No one is natural. I'm not natural. Why? Because I cannot prove that I am. See, this is the poison gift that fake naturals gave us. They killed trust, and by doing that, they became the new standard. Because since there is gain in pretending to be natural, by default, you're going to assume that every fitness YouTuber is not natural, that they take drugs. Why? Because they're trying to utilize that to leverage it to get more views. It makes total sense. In terms of utilitarianism, it makes total sense. So the statement is now fully correct. No one is natural. But this is a dangerous level of relativism because it removes critical thinking and it tells you, okay, I prove to you logically that there is gain in pretending to be natural and not being that. Therefore, anyone who pretends to be natural by default is doing that because humans all gravitate towards gains. And that is, again, factually correct. So how do we get out of that statement? Well, we can't. Because you could tell me, okay, NH, surely you know a logical way to get out of there. Well, I don't. And I don't because it is the most vicious catch-22 I've ever seen in my life. Personally, I like logical fallacies and I research them, but I have never seen one so effective and so impossible to destroy. Let me paint you that catch-22. If you claim to be natural, like I do, with the name of my channel, people are going to say, okay, if you truly were natural, you wouldn't need to say that you're natural, so you're not natural. That's phase one of the catch-22. Let's say you take that word and you actually follow that advice. Phase two, you stop claiming that you're natural. I remove the natural and I'm just called hypertrophy. Okay? These same people will come back and say, okay, since you did not stipulate you're natural, therefore you are not. Do you see this? It's only two phases. There is no way out of that. Because if I skip phase two and go back to phase one, phase two emerges again. I cannot prove that I am natural based on that system. It is not possible. So on pure logic alone, right? If we're just talking about like philosophical concepts, I'm stuck. I and no one on this platform can prove that I'm natural. And therefore, I might not be natural and no one is natural. But it's more vicious than that. It goes beyond it for one simple reason. Even if we escape the realm of philosophy and concepts and we talk about facts and science, even then I cannot prove that I'm natural. And here you will tell me, okay, that's bullshit. There are ways to prove that someone is natural. All right, let's go through them. Let's play a game of pretend and run through a scenario where someone accuses me of being on drugs. And they tell me, NH, you're on drugs. All right, now the onus of defense is on me. How do I do that? Do I do a blood test? Blood tests don't work. For one simple reason. If I know when the blood test is going to happen, I can just wait it out. Wait for the drugs to leave my system, take the blood test, appear natty, and that's it. It did not prove that I'm natural. So the only way would be to be a surprise blood test. But there is no such thing. You're not going to just show up at my house and take my blood with a needle. It's not going to happen. And therefore, this doesn't work. How about a piss test? Well, piss tests are even worse. Most drugs leave your system much quicker than a day or two. And therefore, this also doesn't work. The only thing, again, that can help it actually be effective is randomness, is to randomize the test. But how do you do that with a fitness YouTuber? Again, we're not athletes. You don't know where we live. Any fitness YouTuber that takes a drug test takes it on their own schedule, whenever they want. So it means nothing. So now we're stuck at a point where no actual prelevation of my body fuel can prove that I'm natural or not. We're left with visual cues, looking at someone and saying, are they natural or not? That depends entirely on your standards. I guarantee you, if you take a picture of me, if you take that video right now and you show it to, I don't know, normies on the street, a large portion of them would say, oh, that is not natural. That guy is taking drugs. Why? Because their standards are very low. All right? And the problem is that since the standards are valuable, everyone is going to have a different assessment on the natural status of people. So that also doesn't work. There are certain ways to tell if someone is natural by looking at them, but they are not effective and they do not constitute proof. The only thing that we could have, that I know have been discussed on YouTube Fitness, would be a muscle biopsy that apparently could show if someone is enhanced or not. And I even heard people say that it could show if someone took drugs in the past or not, which is a different discussion because, again, I might not be natural, but imagine if I took drugs in the past. Like, I could say, oh, I'm natural now, but this could be a lie by omission. I could have taken drugs in the past. Fitness YouTubers do that all the time. I've even seen guys who took drugs and then who stopped and were off cycle and claimed natural. Why? Because they weren't currently on drugs. Doesn't that make sense? Well, it does, because they're pieces of shit. So they'll play on words as much as they want because they don't give a fuck about the platform, about the trust. They don't care. They've already killed it. Right now, fake natties are dancing on the grave of trust. They have no care in the wood. So it's not like there's anything a natural can do to prove it. So there is no naturals. There are no naturals. We're all PD users, even if we don't take drugs. And so this makes it the new standard. Again, 99% of people who watch fitness YouTube are naturals. And yet, everyone who makes content is not by that same way and token. So no wonder why you don't trust the creators that you watch. No wonder why you have that weird schizophrenic relationship to the people which content you consume. Is because you know deep down that you are this close to being betrayed. You're always on the verge of being betrayed, always. Unless you watch someone who openly admits to PED use, which makes them virtuous. Do you see this? Natural lifters on this platform are seen as suspicious and untrustworthy because they cannot prove that they're natural, but drug users who openly admit to their use are seen as more honest because they admit to taking drugs. A standard that they established by taking drugs, keeping in mind also that these were the same people a few years ago who lied about it and told you that they were natural. We have been taken over, possessed, conquered, and now abused by these people. And again, there is nothing I or anyone can do about that. They are just running the show. And it's like a trap, but it's a trap that we didn't even run into. It's like they pushed us into it and now it's too late. And I hope you understand what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to explain to you why you felt this way on YouTube Fitness. This feeling that you have is coming from this, from what I'm describing. But it goes beyond that. Because what I just described again is already nefarious enough, but it goes beyond that. Those fake natties that lied about being natural and now pretend that they are so virtuous and moral because they admit to taking drugs. These same people were hunted because, rightfully so, people were starting to think, okay, there are traitors amongst our ranks. We need to remove the traitors. So we need to hunt fake natties. Okay, so they did so. Natty or not videos came from that very idea. The idea of exposing people who take drugs and who pretend that they actually are naturals. And that, you could think, was the start of a revolution. It was the start of something great, something that would actually restore YouTube Fitness back to where it belongs. And yet, it did the exact opposite. Why? I just explained it. A fake natty doesn't suffer from being called a fake natty. It's what they are. The type of people who suffer from that are naturals. But the problem with natty or not and the fake natty hunt in general is that it doesn't discriminate, because by default, if we are trying to separate the fake natties from the real natties, it means that we don't really know who is who and what is which. Meaning that naturals are also being accused of being fake natties. But unlike their drugged up colleagues, they have no defense. Because a fake natty, if you tell them you take drugs, one, they can just continue lying because they are really good at that. Or two, worst case, they make this video with a little bit of tears and oh, I'm so sad, blah, blah, blah. And hop, comme une lettre à la poste. There's no counter. You cannot stop them from doing that. That strategy is just too perfect. But now let's look at a natural. If you tell a natural, hey, you're a fake natty and you take drugs, what is our recourse? We don't have any. I showed you that I cannot take any test to prove to you that I'm natural, but worse than that, the very concept of justice is being turned on its head, making it so that I cannot do a thing. It's like if you tied me with weights, threw me in the Pacific Ocean and said, swim. I can't, you just tied me down. It's the same for this. It's the reason why I might not be natural. You, because of fake natties, made me not natural. You are responsible because you are putting the burden of proof on my shoulders. Put yourself in my shoes. You tell me I'm not natural. What is my recourse? I cannot prove that I didn't do something I didn't do. It's like if I told you, hey, you stole my car, and you say no, and I say yes. Then what? I cannot prove that you stole it, but you can prove that you didn't, so it means you did? Do you see that? That doesn't work. The justice system, by the way, prevents that from happening with burden of proof, but also with just a simple assumption of innocence that is not present on YouTube Fitness. Because, and I tell you this, it's not going to happen today or tomorrow again, but one day it might. If someone were to make a natty or not video about me, I would be entirely defenseless because I have no way to prove something I didn't do. I know I'm repeating myself here, but do you see how frustrating that is? Being accused of something you didn't do is one of the worst things on earth. Why? Because you're left with nothing. You have no way to prove because nothing happened. And so you're stuck in a state that is defined by the standard, and the standard is PD use. So I'm a PD user. And anyone with a natural bodybuilding, powerlifting channel, whatever, you are, if you're watching this, also a PD user. Congratulations. I didn't know I was taking drugs until YouTube Fitness told me I was. I know I was as surprised as you were. I don't even drink, but apparently I inject hard drugs, maybe in my sleep, I don't know. I'm a trans somnambule, whatever, but this is it. So you can't just scratch it. I'm thinking of just changing the name of this channel and just name it hypertrophy because I'm not natural. I clearly am not natural. And so I don't want you to think that I am because I have no way to prove that I am. And fake natties know that, by the way. I've never seen a more smug group of people in my life. They know what they did, and they rejoice in it because it's a great environment for them. They strive in that environment. Are you kidding me? Nothing makes a fake natty happier than telling and watching the camera like this, watching you in the eye and saying, I'm natural, guys. The people who say that I'm not are clearly lying and haters because they have no way to prove that I'm not natural. See, they get to use that argument in the other way. I am forced to admit I cannot prove I'm natural. They get to say that no one can prove that they're not. It's the reason why you have fuckers who weigh 260 pounds with traps the size of a baby elephant who get to claim natty. Because what are you gonna do? You can't prove that they're not. Factually, so it's their word against yours. And since their fine boys are always going to side with them, they're natural. Who gives a fuck? You know that there are people who think that some pro bodybuilders are natural, right? IFBB pros. There are people on their channel thinking, oh, that's natty. Chicken and broccoli, bro. Sure. Really? I know you're not in that group. I hope you're not in that group. But I also know that you are also a victim of that same mindset. And so I want to help you. But that's not going to be for right now, because right now, in the situation we're in, fake natties still are running the show and they're just continuously playing their bluff. What fake natties do is this. They're telling you, hey, maybe I'm taking drugs, but one, you can't prove it, and two, what are you going to do about it? I run the show. I still am bigger than you, meaning that I attract more subscribers and viewers. I attract more young men who I'm going to be able to sell bullshit supplements to. And there's nothing you can do. And they're right, they're correct. It's the reason why they're so smug, by the way. They know they're untouchable. And that gives them all the power in the wood. But it also fuels a certain level of global obsession. And that obsession is that fake natty hunt that I was speaking about. You have entire channels who base themselves off of that, who started and whose entire emphasis is hunting fake natties. Now, I have a question for you. If they were actually doing a good job, shouldn't we see less fake natties? If you hired someone to, I don't know, get rid of roaches in your house, and you saw more and more roaches, wouldn't you have some questions for the guy? Like, for example, hey, are you sure that the product you put in the cabinets of the kitchen are actually killing the roaches? Are you sure they're not making them stronger or attracting more? That's what's happening. The proliferation of fake natties is due to one thing and one thing only, that hunt. That hunt that strengthens them because they're untouchable, but it also weakens naturals. And guess what is the natural enemy of fake natties? Us, people who don't take drugs. It is our job to cure and mitigate their influence. But we cannot, because people who have decided that they were going to engage in the fitness equivalent of McCarthyism are actually hurting us in that endeavor. It's funny that I use that example because if you actually look at the documents and the files, McCarthy was actually correct on most of his assumptions, which might also, carry over to YouTube Fitness, because a lot of people who do get accused of drug use most likely also take drugs, which makes this entire situation even worse, because even within natural channels, there are traitors, right? It's not just fake natties we're dealing with, it's our own kind, quote unquote, as well. They infiltrated us a long time ago. And this is why YouTube Fitness focuses on it and only on it. That's most of what YouTube Fitness thinks about nowadays. It's who takes drugs, what are drugs, what do they do, etc. Knowledge and content that is completely worthless for natural lifters, something that almost no one has noticed, I suppose, because I never heard anyone complain about that. People complain about fake natties, but never the content that they make, or even the content that other naturals make about fake natties, because they polarize the entire show. They are at the center of the YouTube Fitness universe. They are essentially the sun. And naturals are some like small planet that is like millions of light years away that no one gives a fuck about, because we, again, cannot compete. And I think the obsession is mostly due to one thing and one thing only. And that is that the entire natty or not discussion and the very idea of the natural status is an unsolvable mystery, because what I explained before is as all of the markings of an enigma, right? I cannot prove that I'm natural, but I'm telling you I am. So what am I doing right now? I'm sending you on a quest, right? It's essentially a quest for you to actually go find the clues. But these clues are going to lead you absolutely nowhere because the answer to the enigma is there is no answer. And so you are going to be spending your energy rummaging your brain, thinking of who is natural, who is not, what signs do I look for, what YouTuber is actually telling the truth. All of that leading to one thing and one thing only, a loss of focus on your part and a complete refocus on fake naturals. So they got you, they got your ass. By lying about their natural status, they managed to become the stars of this entire platform. And they managed to capture your attention, and that's all they want. Attention and visibility is all fake natties want, but by getting it, they take it away from actual naturals. So what do we do? This is pretty grim. I mean, this could be the last video of the channel. It would be a fitting end for natural hypertrophy. Me just telling you that there's no point in even fighting. It's too late. We are just completely stuck in the spider web. I should have arrived 5 years ago. There is no need or even room for fighting anymore. I could tell you that. I think that it would be fair. You couldn't really be mad at me for that. But of course, if you've watched any amount of my videos, you know that this is not going to conclude this video. Yes, we can fight. And yes, I'm going to continue claiming that I am natural because I am. But the way to do it is not the way the fake natty police has been going on about it. Because we'll never get rid of fake natties. It's a sad truth and a sad reality, but fake natties are a symptom of a deeper and more severe disease. One that will never be fully cured because it takes its root within the very nature of humans. As long as there are humans making videos on YouTube Fitness, there will be fake natties. So this is not the way to go. We cannot get rid of these people. The way to go instead is to pave our own way. We just need to ignore them. I know it's just a silly way to end the video so dramatic, but it's the only way. We need to ignore them. We need to treat them for what they are, different entities, and just do our own thing. And by that, I'm making a call to action for you as well. Anyone that you watch that is still playing that game of, am I natural, am I not natural? Or they make videos, Q&A saying, am I on drugs? Stop watching them. I'm not telling you stop watching all drug users, although it would still benefit you, but at least for the people who are being vague about it and who contribute to the death of trust, stop watching them. You are giving them power by giving them clicks. You are part of the reason why you cannot progress on this platform and content is so shit. It's because these people are just too present. So we need to remove ourselves so that they remove themselves. You can look for clues if you're interested. It's a waste of time, in my opinion. You should focus on yourself again. But there are actual factual cues to look for in fake naturals. And if you're interested, I have a playlist about that. But that is not the way to go, in my opinion. Because, to me, once you understand that you are to remove yourself and not be a fanboy of anyone, included myself, then you understand where the truth lays. Yes, I might not be natural, but at the end of the day, does it really matter? The answer is yes. See, this is something that fake natties would want. Nothing would make fake natties happier than YouTube Fitness in general espousing the idea that no one is natural anymore. An idea and an ideology that, as I told you, is extremely seductive because it is rooted in logical truth. But if we do that, we lose. It's an admission of defeat because we would admit that the use of drug to develop a good body has no bearing on the results. And that is when we lose. If you want a generation of bodybuilders who look like shit, do that. We're going to end up, again, with tons of kids who are going to follow the same advice that actual fake natties apply to their training, and they'll get no result. And it might even lead to an actual death of natural bodybuilding. Because right now, the death is metaphysical, as I explained in the video in the description, but it could become physical. It could just disappear entirely from the platform. And so we are not to do that. Don't give up to nihilism. Don't say, oh, nothing matters and drug users give just as good as advice. No, they don't. But at the end of the day, What matters is you. This means that, again, I might not be natural, but if the advice I give works for you and you find some benefits in it, then do it. Apply it. Because it starts and ends at your own judgment. At the end of the day, I don't have the ability to prove that I'm natural or not, but I especially don't have the ability to be natural or not, because I'm just a guy on the internet. If I were to actually reveal that I'm taking drugs, like I faked at the start of the video, what would happen to you? I sincerely ask, would you be sad? Would you feel betrayed? All of these things to me would show that there is a problem, that there is an attachment that goes beyond a simple search for information. You are becoming, slowly but surely, a fanboy. The only reason for you to be upset would be that you would be able to say to me, hey, you told me that your advice applies, you take drugs to get your physique, so the advice doesn't apply. And that would be correct until you apply it yourself. And you make your own idea and you create your own judgment. This is what fake natties have done. They have removed your judgment, they replaced it with theirs, and then the overarching mentality of YouTube Fitness engages in that hunt for the very same fake natty, making it so that no one is actually doing any work for themselves. So this is my advice to you and the conclusion of this video. I might not be natural, but so what? What truly matters is you. What truly matters is the rebirth of natural bodybuilding through the individual outside of the organization and the conventions. Because guess what? If we manage to do that, we'll be rid of fake natties forever. And that is a promise I make you. But the only way to get there is to follow that path. Any other path, and they'll just get stronger. And I know that we are a small organization or enterprise or community, whatever you want to call it, but I believe that we have that power. We have the power to start that fire. And if we start that fire, eventually it might rise. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.